What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Verest, and thank you guys so much for the support you guys have been giving me. We already passed 410 subscribers. Y'all are absolutely killing it. I can't even keep up with it. Now, for today's video, it's gonna be a lot like yesterday's, where I'm going to pick two towns that I think have a similar purpose in the world of Wynncraft, in the scope of each town. Right now, last time we did this, we were in the Wynn province. This time I want to pick two towns here in the Gavel province, and our first town is Efilim, or Efilim. It's a little pond side town with a few elvish visitors living in it. So elvish people in the Gavel province usually live in Alderay. Alderay is kind of where they all congregate, but in this town, we do have a few elvish people chilling out here. They really are here for medicinal purposes, as this town is part of the Light Forest, which is associated a lot with the healing and the magical aspects of elves. That's why Alderay is in it. You know, it's near the Light Secret and stuff. They the elves are kind of all around this area, so it does make sense why they are here. Now this town has one or two quests. It has one quest that is directly associated here, where you begin talking to Likaru, and it's more of a joke quest than anything, because you kind of just get high. And yeah, if you ever want to have one of the funnest, weirdest experience in a quest in your life, literally do this quest here with Likaru. It's a hilarious joke, but it is a beautiful town. So they really did a quaint little magical town justice. While Alderay is a big city, this right here is absolutely like beautiful in the quaintness. It does have a mystical look towards it, with all the, like, some of the houses are built inside of mushrooms, while some other ones are just straight up wood. And I love the use of birch here. And like, it really fits, it gives it a lighter feeling, right? Because like we've seen in previous builds, a lot of them use dark and medieval themed builds. This is, it's more fantasy, right? It's not really medieval, it's more fantasy. And you see like the blue mushroom coming out of the tree, the chimneys are angled at weirder directions. So it's not necessarily meant to be something more medieval. It's a lot more fantasy than anything. This town also is a town of healing. If you look over here is where they keep a lot of sick people. The tree aids in healing people. So it's kind of cool. I kind of love what they did with this, because Efilim is one of it's the only town really in the Light Forest, and the Light Forest is filled with a lot of creatures, and you're constantly like having to defend from yourself. So how do you make a town that it makes sense for them to live here, but also like make it cool, right? Because you don't just want to make a random town, oh, like, and they have high walls everywhere. And this is a perfect answer. This is, oh, well, they live within the magic of the Light Forest, and this tree here has magical properties that they can use for healing. They're able to defend themselves in that way. They're a part of the forest. Like the evil monsters don't come in the town out of respect for the magical properties in it, you know? So I find that super cool. Now, as to like it being realistic, it absolutely makes sense. Not only are they near a river, but they live on a pond, right? They have a ton of apple trees, like an apple orchard over here. So like, you know, it's realistic as well. So while obviously there's a lot of fantasy vibes, and that's not really realistic, they don't like go out of their way to make it seem like it could never be, you know. It definitely could be realistic, and the design of the town is absolutely beautiful. I love water features in any city, because it shows that the builders are taking it into good account, like the design of the city. The tree is beautiful. The bright colors, I love the use of bright colors in builds, because so often we are stuck using those darker browns, right? But This is absolutely beautiful. A lot of bright colors, the trees, and this is more credit to the light forest really, because it's the light forest that has these bright colors. And then the water and the lily pads, the reeds coming out of the water, it really fills in the space where you don't have too many villagers and elves walking around, but you do have a lot of like, you can feel the hominess of this place as well. This, so like we discussed in the other yesterday's video where Breminglar and Alkern, this gives me very similar vibes to Alkern, but it's a lot more magical. While Alkern is a lot more realistic because they have to have towers on the sides to defend themselves. Efilim here doesn't, because it is a more mystical and magical town, right? It's more fantasy based, and so there's like they can defend themselves in other ways. That being the town, this like the magical properties of the town itself can help them defend, and also the build quality I think is definitely better here than Elkern, because first of all I think fantasy is a bit harder to build in than medieval. And also, like, just everything is a lot more complex. They put in a lot more time. Granted, this is a newer build. It's not that new, but it is a lot newer than something like Elkern. So, to-do list to read, and Olon here is reading. Got a beautiful little like area here, you know, like it's and like they took the time to like add these little tiny things on the ground and on the side that very few people would ever see. But it definitely, like, it looks so nice. But yeah, that is what I think of Efilim. But now what I want to do is I literally want to go a few, I guess, a kilometer north, right? A kilometer. Because Minecraft is in blocks, which is in meters, which is in kilometers. We're gonna go to another town that I really, really love. We're gonna leave Efilim and we're gonna leave the light forest and we're gonna enter a part of the dark forest, right? Now this is run down and evil and scary and whatnot. And here we have a town that definitely fits that aesthetic, and that is Gelibord. Now, Gelibord is beautiful, okay? It's so tiny, but it definitely accomplishes its task so well. What I want to say about this town is that, okay, what does it have to accomplish? It's in the middle, not really in the middle, but it's kind of in the middle of the dark forest, right? Between Olux, between Lexdale, between Sinfrost. It has a job to do, right? Lexdale is a rundown town. With a lot of evil going on, and there's a whole story behind Lexdale and why it is the way it is. So Gelibord cannot completely put itself away from that kind of aspect. Olux behind it, which is a muddied old swampy farming city, right? It's a massive city, but it's very old and run down. And then you have Sinfrost and Efilim to its south and southeast. So, okay, what is Gelibord going to do? It's in the middle of all this place. They don't have necessarily any food, so they themselves are a farming place. They do farm wheat and crops. And how do they defend themselves? They have Gelibord guard golems. They don't have the magical aspect of Efilim, but you can see that, like, it's kind of incorporated. This kind of has that medieval vibe, but it's a lot more, I guess you could say, sinister. It is a bit more medieval, but like, it's more, I guess it's more gothic, I think I would say. I think it's a pretty gothic themed build, and it is a bit fantasy inspired because, again, you have like chimneys that go off to the side, giving it a bit, where's that chimney? You have a chimney over there, it kind of goes off a bit to the side. I love that this, like, literally is all built on top of a river. If you realize, Gelibord is a center of a fork in a river here. There's one coming from the north, one coming from the south, and one coming from the west. And kind of east as well, because it splits over here. And so you have a job of building a town on top of a river, and they do an excellent job, where they have like places for the water to come out, these gigantic mushrooms and reeds to come out, like over here. While at the same time, like, hey, they have bridges built over it where they can let the water pass. And that makes perfect sense why they can farm all their crops, because they're literally built on the like joining of three rivers, so it makes sense that they can have enough water to feed all these crops to be able to feed their crops like that, which is something I can't really say for Olux. The citizens are very hardy. They're very like battle worn in a way, if you understand what I mean. There is a quest here where you have to like defend and with this guy, where you literally just have to like defend the city alongside them, and like it's as if this has happened many many times before. They're used to the chaos and the evil in this town, and so they have preparations for like all this bad stuff, which is so crazy. And dude, some of the mobs around this place are some of the coolest mobs. Like, look at this, it's a bone juggler. Gelibord has a very good like design as one of those like evil little towns where everyone is quiet and walking around solemn, and they're all prepared for like a war in a way. And it's so well made. I love the design quality. Actually, I don't know, maybe this town is better. And ultimately, this town definitely fits that dark, medieval, yet still magical fantasy aspect that Efilim also went hard on. And so here we are. We have literally, and they're so close to each other. Both of these towns have a similar job to do, whereas they are magical towns in a sense, where there's a lot of magical stuff happening. um, they're small towns, right? They don't have the right to be big because they're kind of in a non-safe place, and so they have to have reasons why they can survive where they do. Efilim has the magic and they live within the city and its protection, while a town like Gelibord here, they are just hardened people on the rivers, and so they're able to quickly move and transport things, as well as the fact that they farm their own stuff locally. They don't need to leave the town. And they do get raided very often. As you see in a quest, they get raided very often, and they're well prepared for it. They're very hard fought fighters as well. So they can stay here more out of stubbornness. A lot like, they're very stubborn warriors, right? Where like they could leave, but they've kind of chose to make this a home, and the farming here is working, and so they decide, look, this is where we're going to decide to make our home, and the stubbornness will keep them there. Ultimately, both of these towns are conceptually beautiful and also visually very stunning. I love the design of Gelibord and Efilim. Personally, if I were have to grade and to rank these compared to each other, I would say that Efilim is a conceptually cooler town, where they're guarded by the forest and they live around this tree, and like a lot of it makes sense with them. While Gelibord is a bit more, it's a bit more understood. It's a bit more realistic, in a sense where you have a stubborn people who farm the lands and they won't give up what they have because it's theirs. But if I'm talking about just the build quality, I think Gelibord is a more beautiful town on the build quality. I love how you have all these boardwalks walking around everywhere, all with rivers coming underneath them, a ton of farms everywhere, and these beautiful, beautiful tall houses with crazy building design on the outside. I love the design of it. There are like, it feels worn down, but at the same time there's little splotches of bright color here and there that really gives it a like a filled vibe. It fills in. And so yeah, that is my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm always very curious. I really liked what y'all gave the opinion to in my last video. I think we were all kind of in agreement. I'm curious if y'all agree that Gelibord is, while it's a more beautifully built town, Efilim is a bit more conceptually cool. But yeah, that is my opinion. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.